Hey, welcome, Crossroads. My name is Dan Chapin. I am the high school and young adults pastor here, and with me is my good buddy.
Daniel Carpenter, I'm the video guy. I push record on the cameras and stuff.
That sounds really important, Daniel.
It can be.
Anyway, all right, why don't you tell everyone about our mission?
That's a great idea. Our mission is to lead people to discover Jesus and follow him half-heartedly.
I don't think that's right.
Follow him fully.
There you go. Well, hey, if you're new here with us, we would love to be able to get connected with you. All you have to do is click on our Christmas QR code. That's right, Christmas QR code. And you take your phone. You grab the camera app. You hold it up to the side. And you press on it, and then a little QR thing should drop down from the notification section. It should be pretty interesting to do, and that'll take you to a link where you can sign up and give us an understanding of who you are, or you can just find out who we are, and even download our new app.
Speaking of apps and downloading and our app, you should download our new app. You've heard of apps, right? They've been around for a while now. But just go to your phone, push the app download button, and it will help lead you to give to the church and serve in our ministries and watch some of our sermons that we've done over the past year or two.
That's really awesome. Cool. That's really cool. Yeah, thank you, Daniel. I love that app. I love checking out older messages or even just checking out what I missed from the previous week. So I'm all caught up when I come in on Sunday or a Thursday night service. Well, we have communion during this service, so if you are interested in taking communion, you can grab one of our little communion cups on the way in. If you're online, I encourage you guys to grab some communion elements, whether it be some bread, some juice, some crackers, Cheez-Its, Gatorade, whatever it might be. Do you think Dr. Pepper or Coca-Cola would be better for communion if someone's really got to figure this out and decide?
That's too loaded a question and too little a time.
That's pretty hard to figure out. Anyway, we'll go with Dr. Pepper. But yeah, I encourage you guys to grab those communion elements. What next do we got, Daniel?
Well, ways to give. And if you already have our app, QR code, scan this, then this shouldn't be a problem for you. Giving is really simple to do, whether it's on the QR code or the app, which you should have at this point. There's a lot of ways to give, and it's a very simple process.
I'm getting a feeling that the QR code and the app are pretty darn important.
They should be. There's a reason why this beautiful, Christmas-appropriate QR code has not left the screen. You guys should take a hint. This is important stuff.
Very important things, for sure. Well, hey, how was your Thanksgiving, Daniel? This is your first Thanksgiving inside California. What was it like for you?
Well, it was good, Dan. Thank you for asking. We actually had a family host us, which was really awesome. My folks flew in from out of town. I didn't have that much food. I only had one table of food. I unhinged my jaw and I just ate the whole thing. It was a sight to behold.
That's fantastic. Well, we had Thanksgiving for the first time at someone else's home, and that was great because didn't have to make the meal, didn't have to set the table, didn't have to clean up afterwards, and we were really good attenders. We just enjoyed everything and let the host take care of it. It was fantastic.
That's awesome. Speaking of tenders, a tender subject for a lot of people is how to get involved, and fortunately, that's pretty easy. Join our tag teams. You'll never guess, Dan, how they can get involved with our tag teams.
Wait. Does it have something to do with the app or the QR code?
The first letter is Q, and the rest is our code.
Oh, okay, got it.
And it's still here.
Would you believe it? Yeah.
You just scan that with your phone, open the camera app. It's the easiest app to open. Boom. It'll take you on a beautiful adventure to the beautiful website where all this will be made easy.
Our tag teams are a way for you guys to get involved, to serve, to help make this church happen. This church can't happen without our volunteers stepping up every single week and participating in our mission. Well, we have a really cool immersive experience coming up. I love Christmas movies, Daniel.
Oh, me too.
And I think one of my favorite Christmas movies has got to be Polar Express. Polar Express is just one of those classics that everyone seems to love. And next Saturday, we're going to have a Polar Express event. You can go to crossroadsgrace.org/Polar Express to get tickets there. This is going to be an immersive experience. So when you watch the movie on the big screen that's out there, there'll also be moments like during the movie when there's hot chocolates being passed out on the train in the film. We're also going to be passing out hot chocolate. In fact,
Wow.
we're even going to have a train there outside in the parking lot that kids can go on and just kind of enjoy this immersive experience of watching Polar Express together as a church family. It's going to be pretty cool.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, be sure to invite your friends, to invite anyone. They are welcome.
Excellent. Well, for you guys, wherever you're tuning in from around the world,
Welcome to Crossroads.
Ooh, hey y'all. That's the third time. We're so glad you're here. Why don't you go ahead and stand up with us, and we're going to worship to some songs. Joy awaits my praise.
battle belongs to the Lord. Let's sing it back. When all I see is a battle, you see my victory. When all I see is a mountain, you see a mountain move. And as I walk through the shadow, your love surrounds me. There's nothing to fear, for I am safe. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. In every fear, I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And if you are for me, who can be against me? For Jesus, there's nothing impossible for you. When all I see is the ashes, you see the beauty. When all I see is the cross, God, you see the empty tomb. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. Almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadow, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power. Sing it again. Almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Everything I lay at your feet, I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Yes, Guys, don't you love that last line in that chorus? When I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. The battle belongs to you. You know, I was sharing in the last service before we moved to this next song that it's such a great play on words, that particular verse, is that for most of us, we think when we're fighting that we're in a posture of offense. We're trying to defend something. But But the great thing about that verse is saying that we do our fighting on our knees with our hands lifted high as if in surrender. So it's a great representation of who is actually fighting our battles. It's not us. It's never us. If we put our faith in God, He's the one that fights our battles. And so I was sharing in the last service that there may be some of us here in this room that have been fighting their battles all by themselves and are just tired. They're just tired of it. It's exhausting and it drains our energy. And if for just a minute we can just stop and let God fight those battles that we've been trying to fight for so long and not getting anywhere with, maybe we'll see something different. So as we sing this next song, I just encourage you, if that's you this morning, and you're just tired of having to fight those battles because you're not willing to, at that point, give them to God, let this be your time. Just to say, God, I trust you. I trust you with this battle that I'm fighting and that I don't really know how to win. But God knows how to win. He knows how to win. So let's continue in our worship and just reflect on that truth, that the battle belongs to our God. Amen. We've seen what love can do. God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Sing again. Come awaken your people, come awaken this city. God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear the chains hit the ground. Oh, God of revival, pour it out, pour. One more time, come on. Come awaken your people, come awaken the city. God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear the chains hit the ground. Oh, God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Hallelujah. You are the God of revival, Lord. We worship you in this moment. Give you all the praise that you are due. Pour out more of your spirit, God. We need it. I ask a special blessing on those individuals that we were talking about this morning that are feeling like they've had to fight their battles on their own. You fight our battles for us. You fight it with passion because we are yours. We are your children. You fight for those who love. Continue to be with us this service. And we love you, Lord. We give you all the praise that you are due. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. You may be seated.
Praise the Lord. It's so good to see you guys here today. It's so good to know you're watching online as well. Can we just show some love to the praise team this morning? Just praise the Lord. Man, hard work they put in and just bringing us before the Lord like they did this morning. Well, my name is Jimmy, and I am the pastor of Recovery Ministries here at Crossroads. I'm so glad to be here, and I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Right? I don't know about you, but I'm still kind of full, right? It was so good. I smoked a turkey, never done that before, and oh, it came out good. But that's not why we're here to talk about that today. I promise you that. Listen, what we're going to talk about today, I'm so honored to every time I get an opportunity to speak to the whole church because it's just such a great privilege. And today, I'm especially excited about what we're going to talk about. This is something that has been very near and dear to my heart. It's changed my life, and I'm going to unpack that for you a little bit. But let's just jump right in, and I'm going to jump right in by telling you right off the bat, I get lost easy. I get lost very easy. Like, I do not have the spiritual gift of direction. My wife has it. My wife, we could be in a town that neither she or I have ever been in before in our lives, and she knows all the shortcuts without the phone. So I don't know how she has that instinct, but I don't have it. But as someone who's been lost quite a bit, there are three things that I've discovered about being lost. You ready for this? Three things. Number one, people who are lost rarely get lost on purpose. I can even say that's true for me. I don't mean to get lost, but I just do. Number two, you're typically lost before you know you're lost, right? It just dawns on me, whoa, I'm lost. And number three, you always end up where the road you're on takes you, right? That sounds kind of simple, and that's because it is, right? But we're going to dig into that a little bit. I want to share with you something. Literally, this stuff has changed my life, what I'm going to share with you today. And that's not an exaggeration because I'm up here and I got to make it sound good. It literally has changed my life. It changed the way I make decisions. It changed the way I make plans for the future. It changed the way I see myself in this world and others around me and everything. It just really, literally just revolutionized my thinking. And it's not an exaggeration, but the foundation of what I'm going to say to you today comes from a book by Andy Stanley called The Principle of the Path. Okay, The Principle of the Path. This is a great book. Came out, I don't know, about 10, 12 years ago, but it revolutionized the way I see life, and it's a small book, and that was really great, right? And so those are my favorite books, small books. But it was good, and it's super important to understand. We're going to talk about the principle of the path today, and it's super important to understand that what we're talking about here is a principle, right? A principle. We're not talking about rules to follow. We're not talking about a law. We're not talking about ideas or concepts you choose to apply sometimes and choose not to apply other times. You can break a rule. You can break a law, but principles are different. They're being applied to us all the time, every day. Every day. The principle of the path impacts each one of us every day of our lives. Let me explain. Why is it that a 2-ounce pebble will sink right to the bottom, but a 51-ton battleship will float? Now, all you smart people out there are saying why in your brain. You don't want to say it out loud, but you know why. Buoyancy. The principle of buoyancy, right? It's called Archimedes' principle of buoyancy. It's not called the law of buoyancy. It's not called the rule of buoyancy, right? And I can't even explain some of the science behind the principle of buoyancy, but it's a principle that impacts us all the same. And Archimedes didn't discover it. I mean, he didn't invent it. Archimedes did not invent the principle of buoyancy. He discovered it. He figured it out, and then he told us about it, right? But this principle has always been a principle, always. So I want to share with you what this principle of the path is, but you got to remember these 3 things before we start. And I'm going to share, I promise you, if you wrap your head around this, what I'm going to share with you today, 3 things can happen. Number 1, you can leverage this principle for your good. Or you can ignore it and pay the price. You can leverage this principle for your good immediately, I should say. The second you walk out of here, you can leverage this for your good. The second thing to remember is the principle of the path impacts your life every day. Every day, each one of us. And thirdly, the principle of the path is true for everyone all the time. So follow me here. Follow me. Just get your head around this. If you take hold of this, this could change your life today. Today. And I know that's a hefty promise, right? I'm not just trying to get melodramatic up here because it sounds good or whatever. But here we go. Here is the principle of the path. You ready for this? Here we go. Direction, not your intention, determines your destination. Now, you might be sitting here saying, okay, yeah, sure, that's pretty easy, right? I learned that in 2nd grade. What's so exciting about this? Direction, not your intention, determines your destination. In other words, your path determines where you're going and where you're going to end up. Where you intended to be, or where you desire to be, or where you hope to be, is completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Your direction is all that matters. Where you intended to be doesn't matter. If you're on the wrong road, you just won't make it to your desired destination, right? And that all makes sense to us. That's easy peasy, right? You can't go north of Sacramento by going south on the highway, okay? Even I know that. Even I probably wouldn't make that mistake. I possibly could, but most likely I probably wouldn't, okay? And as obvious as this might seem, as obvious as this seems when we're talking about geography and maps and stuff like that, when it comes to applying it to the rest of our lives, our spiritual lives, financial lives, dating lives, professional lives, married lives, single lives, raising kids' lives, how we live, how we deal with pain, how we deal with difficulty, all that stuff, when it comes to that, it seems like we so easily forget how this principle works. Myself included, by the way. Just that goes without saying, myself included on everything that I'm talking about today. Because we forget that this principle applies. We don't think about it because there is a huge disconnect between the destination people want to ultimately get to and the path that they're traveling on and the direction they're going. As a counselor for a lot of years, I've said this before, as a marriage and family counselor for years, I had the opportunity to speak with many people who are broken up over how they've reached the point in life where the regret is so heavy. They're so sad for the things they've done, the choices they've made, or individuals and couples realizing that this isn't what they planned for this point in their life. This isn't what they dreamed it would look like. This isn't the destination they wanted to be at this point. And as often as they shared with me their story, I couldn't help but think, compassionately, I couldn't help but think, to me this makes sense that you're in the spot you're in, right? It makes total sense. Couldn't you see the road you were on? Couldn't you see where it was taking you? And I would also think, didn't you realize that no matter how much you wanted a healthy relationship, the road you chose was going to make that impossible? I would think those things. And so what I'm saying is that I learned through counseling and through reading this book and all this stuff, God showed me that we don't have problems to solve in life. We have directions to change. Get it? We don't have problems to solve in life. We have directions to change. Imagine someone lost in the woods. Me, for example, because I've been lost in the woods, okay? This is an embarrassing message for me today. I just want to let you know that, okay? But I've been lost in the woods, and it would be foolish for me when I'm in like the height of my lostness in this event. It'd be silly for me to cry out, I need a solution. No, I already know what the solution is. I got to get out of here. I got to get home. What I need is a new path, a new direction, because the one I'm on is taking me in circles, and I need a new path. There's no fix for me being lost. There is a new direction that I need to assume so I can get out of there. And to get to where we don't want to be in life, to where we want to be on these paths I'm talking about, we need two things: time and a new direction. So I talk about this as a counselor. I had a lot of people tell me their problems, and the fact is, most times their issues didn't boil down to problems to solve. It boiled down to a direction or directions to change. And this was disappointing to these clients, right? They were so disappointed because, when the clients would come to see me, they hoped that I would open up my little book of counselor solutions and just turn to the right page and rip it out and give it to them. Right? Or dig into my bag of tricks as a counselor. Us counselors, we have bags of tricks. We know the answer to everything, and we can just pull it out and give it to them. And they were so disappointed when that didn't happen that way, when I didn't dig into my bag, because I would be telling them, look, you have a direction to change. I can't solve your problem. I can't give you a solution pill or a solution book. You have a direction to change. Psalm 16, verse 11 says, you will show me the way of life, granting me joy of your presence and the pleasures of living with you forever. And then Psalm 119, 105 says, your word is a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. You see, we see the contrast in our own lives sometimes, and we see the contrast all around us between where people hope the path would take them and the actual destination that they are arriving at because of the path that they actually chose. The direction we actually choose, not our hopes, not our dreams, will determine our destination. So, if direction, not your intention, determines your destination, then if you want to move in the right direction, you have to choose the right path. This applies to all of us, right? Simple enough. Again, we learned this in kindergarten, right? You go down the right hallway to go to the cafeteria or whatever. You know, we got to go the right way to get to the right place. We learn this in kindergarten. It's not like we don't know this, but why then do we ever walk down that path or any path that takes us to the wrong destination? Why do we do it? Because all of us have done that. I don't think there's a single person who can say, well, I never took a wrong turn. I never took a wrong path. No. Why do we do it? I'll tell you why. Because the wrong path has a strong emotional appeal, kind of like a gravitational pull. It just plays on your heart, plays on your fear, plays on your greed sometimes, this appeal. And when we give in to that appeal, when we give in to that strong emotional pull, that gravitational pull, what we're doing is that we're giving in to the immediate instead of the ultimate. We settle for the immediate, not the ultimate. In other words, what I'm saying is we choose the wrong path most times because we want to. We make decisions really based on what the payoff is, right? Good or bad. We make decisions because we want to. I don't think any of us here, I hope, are going to, on the way home, go rob a convenience store on the way home, right? Anybody going to do that? We'll just make a phone call real quick? No. Seriously, right? You're probably not going to do that because why? Because the payoff isn't good. Because you don't want to. Because you're against it. You have values. You don't want to go to jail. Whatever, right? I'm not going to rob a convenience store on the way home because of those reasons. Listen, here's an illustration. When I lived in Colorado for about 5 years, our family did, I had this old GMC Suburban. There it is right there. What a beauty, right? If anybody of you likes trucks, man, you're going to say that's a beauty, right? And people, right? And so, but people would ask me a lot of times, because everybody in Colorado seemed to drive a Subaru and eats granola. I don't know what that's all about. But, so they would ask me, Jimmy, why didn't you get a more fuel-efficient car? You know, this carbon footprint thing and everything. Why didn't you get more? And I found myself kind of getting defensive and coming up with good answers, right? Well, we have a large family, and so it has a lot of seats in it. And, it's got four-wheel drive, and it snows a lot here and stuff like that. And, all kinds of stuff like that. We need a vehicle for a backup vehicle and everything, so blah, blah, blah. You know what? If I got honest, totally honest, if I answered those questions honestly, I would say this. I would say, the reason I bought this is because I like it. I just like it, right? I bought an old Suburban because I like them. They're cool to me, right? They look cool. They sound cool. These big tires are cool. Everything was just cool to me, and I wanted to be cool. So I got this thing because I just wanted it. I just personally just wanted it. Nothing super spiritual. Nothing super noble about it. Nothing heroic. I just wanted that truck. I liked the color. I liked everything about it. And I wanted it, and so I bought it. That's a simple example, right? But imagine that same dynamic. I wanted it, so I bought it. Imagine that same dynamic filtering its way into other, bigger, way more important decisions in our life than what truck to buy. Let me ask you this. Maybe you've seen two people heading down that road towards marriage, right? They're talking about it. They're just getting lovey-dovey, all close and stuff like that, right? And they're heading down to the altar. But if you were the gambling sort of person, you would bet everything you have that this ain't gonna work out good, right? You just get that gut feel, right? I mean, some of you have seen that before. You just get that gut feel that, this is not gonna end well, right? I've had it, or maybe you've had that conversation with a friend who's trying to dig themselves out of a great big hole in their life. Something they got themselves into financially or relationally or whatever, bad marriage, too much debt. And maybe you're wondering, to these people, you're wondering, didn't you see this coming? Didn't you see this coming? Weren't there warning signs? Was there anything that tipped you off that this was not a good idea? Didn't anybody speak up and warn you about this path? And most of the time, you know what? They will say 2 words back to you in response. Ready for this? 2 words. They'll say, yeah, but, right? Yeah, but I ignored the warning signs. Yeah, but I didn't listen to the advice I got. And yeah, but I thought it would all work out anyway. Yeah, but I thought I would be the one and only exception in the history of mankind to where a principle doesn't apply to me. Yeah, but maybe that person we're talking about is us. Maybe we've ended up exactly where we don't want to be, financially, spiritually, relationally, physically. And if that's so, how do we keep from that happening again and again and again? I'm going to tell you. In Proverbs 27:2, it says this. It says, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Man, that you could put my name in there, but Jimmy kept going and paid the penalty more than once. Okay? Maybe we can put our own names in there. The simple keep going and pay the penalty. Well, listen, first of all, there's 2 people being talked about in that verse. 2 kinds of people, 2 different responses with 2 very different outcomes from facing the same kind of life situations. 2 people are mentioned here, the prudent guy and the simple guy, okay? And what they have in common is there were things on their paths in life that were dangerous. They hinted at danger. And so let's look at that. Let's look at the prudent guy. Now, prudent here means wise, okay? Prudent means wise. The wise person understands that life is connected, that there is cause and effect, and that there are consequences to our actions. The wise person asks the question, in light of my past experiences, my future hopes and dreams, what's the wise thing for me to do here? They understand that what they do today affects their tomorrow, for good or for bad. They know that one thing leads to another. But the simple guy, and simple here means naive. The naive person thinks that life is disconnected, that today is about today only, and tomorrow is about tomorrow, and they really aren't connected. The naive person lives in the moment with very little regard for the future. They can have intention A, but they're on path B. And they think that path B is going to lead them to destination A. They somehow think it's all just going to work out. It's all going to come out in the wash. It'll just all be okay. The prudent and simple respond differently. The prudent sees danger and reacts by taking refuge. When they see danger, they think, uh-oh, and they take action. They do something about it. But the simple person just keeps on going. They see danger and they think, this is going to be a problem, right? The simple person. They see danger and they're like, this is going to be a problem. And then someone comes up to them and says, well, are you going to do anything about it? And the naive person responds, well, you're right, I probably should, but I'm just going to keep on going and just trust that it's all going to work out anyway. Let the chips fall where they may, and they will fall in the right place. Nobody likes to admit to being the simple or naive one. I don't like to admit it. But think of it this way. Maybe you hear what I'm saying today, right? And maybe, just maybe, you're just kind of maybe starting to think about paths that you're on, and you're sort of weighing them in your mind. Is this a good path or not so good path, right? Maybe you're thinking about just like the destinations that you're arriving at, maybe over and over and over again, or maybe one that's you've never been to, but you can see it coming. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I'm the only one in this room that has dealt with this. I doubt it, but maybe, right? Anything's possible, I suppose. And maybe I'm just spitballing here, but maybe you're thinking, I really shouldn't drink so much because I don't want to get to a point where it's an uncontrollable addiction. Or maybe you're thinking, I really shouldn't keep buying so many things that I can't afford because I'm racking up way too much credit card debt, and it's going to get to a point where I got to file bankruptcy. Or maybe you're thinking, I really should break off that unhealthy relationship because we really are on different pages and we're on different viewpoints about God and faith and waiting until marriage. And so maybe you feel like God may be whispering in your ear about a couple things. I don't know. And maybe if that's so, though, maybe you're thinking, what if you stopped and thought, man, this is great that God is speaking to me. This is so cool that I'm hearing from God, that he's kind of telling me, whispering in my ear these things, that, hey, these paths, man, it's so cool. And I would say, yeah, it's really great that God is speaking to you. It's really great when God talks to any of us, and he will. If we listen, he will speak, and he will direct us and guide our paths and everything. That's really great. It's really awesome that you hear God's voice. But the real question is, what will you do about it? What are you going to do about it? Because what good is that conviction that God is bringing you about those things in your life that you need to get off the path and get back on the right path? What good is that conviction if you just go back on the wrong path? I've done that. I've gotten back on the path when I knew better, and it does not end well. What good would today be if you've been alerted to the danger, but you just keep going? You don't take action to avoid the danger. If that's how you or I respond to God's word, then that makes us the simple one that he's talking about in this verse. We are the naive, and we will pay the price for it. We will suffer for it. And quite often others will suffer too. But the prudent see danger and do something about it. The simple see danger and may be convicted that they got to do something about it, but they don't. The simple always suffer harm. It's like the simple man's like a guy on a raft, right? Or he's in a canoe, and he hears a waterfall ahead down the river, right? He hears that waterfall, and he says, well, I hear it, but that's way up there. I don't got to deal with it right now. Besides, the water here is calm. It's really nice. So he keeps floating, and he's floating towards the waterfall, and he sees a sign on the shore over there, and it says, hey, you better turn around because you're going to die. There's a big waterfall 300 yards ahead, and you got to do something about it. And he sees that sign, and he says, but the water here is really calm. I kind of like it, so I'm okay, all right? And then 301 yards later, down that river, he's flying over Niagara Falls, and he's saying, how did this happen? What's going on? This is so unfair. God, why did you let this happen? All these questions, right? The simple keep going and suffer for it. Listen, there's a hard truth to this. There is a hard truth that I want to tell you. That there are sometimes points of no return on the path we're on. Sometimes it just goes too far that for it to change back, it'll still never be the same. Paths can go too far, and then it's too late. The person who keeps racking up huge shopping bills, on their credit cards, eventually they go bankrupt. Point of no return. I remember a young woman years ago. This woman was in an unhealthy relationship, and she knew it was unhealthy, right? And she and my wife talked to her to try to, help her see the light here. And she knew it was not good. She agreed with us. This relationship was not good, and that she agreed that she should end it. However, she just couldn't bring herself to do it. And she kept right on going. She didn't heed the warning signs, and you know what? She ended up getting pregnant. And so they ended up getting married, her and this guy, right? Because that seemed to be the right thing to do. And guess what? The marriage didn't last long, not surprisingly. And it ended miserably, as a matter of fact. And to this day, it still makes life tough for that child. The simple keep going and suffer for it. If we continue down certain paths, past all the warning signs, we will end up doing ourselves harm. I see it all the time. I'm the pastor of Recovery Ministries here and Celebrate Recovery, which is not just drugs and alcohol, by the way. It's all of life's hurts, habits, and hang-ups. It's a very expansive ministry. It encompasses a lot, but I see that all the time, all the time, all the time. People continuing down certain paths, past the warning signs, and they suffer for it. Jeremiah 17:9 says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it?" Wow. That says every heart. Who can understand it? What I hear in that is that we have this amazing ability to fool ourselves into thinking that we should have what we desire without regard to the consequences, the suffering. That our hearts can't be trusted. Our culture tells us, trust your heart. Go with your heart. We hear that all the time, right? In movies and in music. And the cute little Hallmark cards with kittens and sunsets and flowers and stuff like that. Trust your heart, trust your heart. But according to Jeremiah 17:9, I don't think so. Not my heart, not this heart. I can't trust it. So here's my challenge for you today. I want you to ask this question. How is my private life doing in light of all the paths that I'm choosing? What are the destinations that are destructive or just not good? What are those destinations I keep arriving at time after time after time? Is your direction headed towards the right destination, or are you fooling yourselves into thinking somehow magically this path you're on, although every indicator is telling you it's going in the wrong direction, somehow magically it's going to end up plopping you on the right destination, which is really way over here? See, we understand this with geography and maps. Don't go south to go north. That's simple. But there's a disconnect when it comes to the rest of our lives, when our heart gets in the way. Direction, not our intention, determines your destination. So what path do you need to change? Where do you need wisdom? I'm going to read you a verse that's not on the screen. I'm going to read you James chapter 1, verse 5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." See, if you're on the path that you know you shouldn't be on, God doesn't mind if you go to him and ask him for wisdom and grace and strength, forgiveness. He doesn't mind. He gives it to all generously. The wise see danger and they take action. Action. You know what that action is? Surrendering to God's way. Saying, I'm sick and tired of choosing my own path because it keeps ending up in pain. Hurts me, hurts other people. I'm tired of it. I need to surrender to God and say, God, I want to choose your path. We sang about this all this morning. This is how I fight my battle. You know, we go to God with the struggles of life, and he fights them for us. He fights them by giving us wisdom, by pointing us in the right direction, by giving us strength. We surrender to God, and he gives generously back wisdom and strength and mercy and forgiveness. And so I want to ask you today, and man, I'm excited about this because we did this in the first service. Amazing response. I'm so excited to challenge you this way because it would be terribly easy to leave here today. It'd be terribly easy and amazingly tempting to just leave here today, walk out here after being alerted that there's some danger on the path that you're on. It'd be easy to walk out and say, I'll get to it later. It'll work out. It's not that big of a deal. Oh, maybe not at the beginning, but it'll be a big deal if we don't take care of it. Scripture says that. So I'm going to challenge you this way. Unashamedly challenge you this way. I got a blue chip. in my hand. And this blue chip today represents my wanting to be off of my path and on God's path in my life. And I want to offer to you, if God has revealed to you, if God has shown his light, whatever you want to put it, if you understand that, man, I'm on a wrong path and I need to get off it. If you're willing to make that decision today, instead of leaving here and just letting it go, I'm going to offer you to come forward and pick up one of these blue chips. Now, I want you to understand a few things. Number one, there is no shame in the house of God. Okay? No shame whatsoever. And number two, the ground is level at the foot of the cross. We all need God equally, every one of us. And number three, probably every one of us could get a blue chip because it would mean that to us. So I'm going to offer you right now. There's people down here that will help you. They'll pray with you. If you just want prayer about it, get a blue chip. We want to offer that to you. But is there anybody here, right now, that wants a blue chip? Come on up and get one right now. Right now. Come on, cheer them on. Yes, sir. Praise God. Encourage them. Let them hear it. Come on. We're cheering each other on. Yes. Yes. There's no shame in the house of God. There's no condemnation. There's no finger pointing. Yes. Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. That is a demonstration of people saying that this is how I fight my battle. That I surrender my way to God's way. And man, that gives me hope. And it gives me meaning and purpose. A clear conscience. Gives me peace in my heart, serenity, and a future. Yes. That takes courage. Can we just give it up one more time to everybody got a chip? Come on. Come on. Woo! Woo! Hey, these guys are going to stay up here for a few minutes. If you need prayer, whatever, you can come forward for prayer. They'll be glad to pray with you. If you didn't get a blue chip and you still want to come up, that's fine too. But let me pray. Father God, we thank you. Lord, we thank you that you fight our battles for us. Father, that we don't have to pick the wrong path anymore. God, that you give us hope and you give us a future and you give us direction. Lord, we take this blue chip, God, and we keep it with us as a reminder of the decision we made today, right here, right now. And we thank you for giving us the courage to do that. We love you, God. We praise in Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen. Hey, listen, all of this is possible because of the work that Jesus Christ did on the cross for our sin and our shame, right? He died on the cross. We're going to celebrate that with communion in a few minutes. But first, we're just going to worship. Can we stand together? And can we just worship the Lord and just sing our hearts out to him right now? Let's do that right now.
From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Your blood flows through my veins. You have been again to your family.
On the night before he was to be crucified, Jesus sat with the disciples and he took a loaf of bread and he broke a piece off and he said, "This bread represents my body, which will be broken for you. Take and eat in remembrance of me." Let's do that right now. And then Jesus took the cup and he said, "This cup represents my blood, which will be poured out for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Take and drink." Let's do that right now. Let's pray. Father God, we thank you so much that we are not slaves to fear. We're not slaves to wrong thinking. We're not slaves to our own desires, God, because you set us free through your work on the cross and the resurrection. Father, we thank you. Lord, thank you today for those that got a blue chip. Thank you for all the decisions being made here today to get on the right path, to not go down these wrong paths, God, to trust you for wisdom. Lord, we love you and we praise you and we pray all these things in Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen. Amen. God bless you guys. Have a great week. Tag, you're it.